and welcome to the November 16th Board of Ed meeting.
Jim Barrett.
Here.
Jerry Harper.
Here.
Ralph Close.
Here.
Steve Lee. Megan Michael.
Here.
Kathy Knight. Here. Tom Eckling.
Here. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, any topics for consideration to add to the agenda this evening?
I make a motion to approve agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need to appoint Secretary Pro Tem.
I'll appoint Megan as secretary for town,
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Set approved for the minutes of the October 26, 2021 Board of Education meeting and the October 26, 2021 Board of Education closed session meeting.
Move to accept. Second. Jerry Harper.
Yes.
Ralph Close.
Yes.
Megan Michael. Kathy Knight.
Yes.
Jim Barrett.
Yes.
Tom Eckling.
Yes.
Whoa, commendation?
Oh, exactly.
It's been such a long time. It has been. We are enthusiastic. We're happy to bring a commendation this month for our first quarter honor roll students. We've included information in your packet on the vocal list, but we want to make sure that we congratulate those students. So I want to thank the teachers involved, and you can never forget the families and the parents, all the support that's going on at home. So congratulations to them. Hopefully they keep up the good work as we move into the second quarter, but it gives us pleasure to be able to have a commendation at the meeting. So congratulations to both.
A lot of students listed too.
Lots of
Yeah.
students.
Good to see. No. Next, we have agenda time for citizens to speak. Community members are welcome to address the board in person. Please follow our board policy when attending and note that the board will listen to your comments but does not reply. Any citizens like to speak this evening? Okay. There's a podium here for you. Come down. And when you get there, please state your name for us. And you have 5 minutes.
Okay, so I was hoping I'd have more time. I left my notes at my job. So my name is Nicole Silva. I'm a parent. I'm a fellow educator at a corresponding district within McHenry County. So I'm here today to address my growing concern for quarantine students. Full disclosure, my child is a JESS student who is currently under quarantine due to a positive result in shield testing. So kudos to that system because she is asymptomatic, and without that program, she would still be in school, possibly spreading this terrible virus that we're currently going through. So my concern is that her education is not being addressed or met during her time of quarantine. Within Illinois compiled statutes, they write that our superintendent will approve of our policy, which on our policy for District 12, it states that each classroom is unique. Your child may have this kind of learning, may have this kind of learning, may have this, or just may have worksheets. So the recommendation is a strong recommendation for asynchronous and synchronous learning. As a teacher, I understand that that's a lot to put onto, especially classroom teachers. The workload is, it was also advised during remote learning that we didn't give the teachers in-person and quarantine students. So I'm not here to fight for the recommendation of time of that 2.5 hours of synchronous learning, but some sort of something would be awesome. If the school had a policy of, hey, somebody from our district is going to check in with you for 20 minutes every other day, virtually, on the telephone. Right now, we're 4 days into her quarantine. Not a single person has reached out. By phone, nobody tried to set up a Zoom meeting. How are you keeping track that my daughter is in attendance during this quarantine, that she's keeping up with her work if nobody's checking in with her? It's lawfully provided that I send my child to school, or you will send a truancy officer to my house. So how are you holding up that same expectation? So basically, all I'm asking is that the board, as the superintendent's boss, kind of put a little pressure on to have our district develop some sort of guideline for these students that are going to be quarantined and isolated at home, that there is a requirement that somebody checks in with them. It doesn't have to be their school teacher. It clearly states on ISB that it does not have to be their classroom teacher. But somebody should be reaching out to these children, especially knowing how far we've taken step backs in social, emotional, mental health. We had a huge movement. We had 5 days of SEL learning in my district. 5 days for the entire first trimester. That's a lot. And now my child is isolated. Also, it says that it's going to be individually needs and met. If you were to look at my child's classroom teacher was not able to go back. My child was asked to come back in the first round of kids because she was not successful during remote learning. So she was asked in that first wave when we first came back to in person, would you like to send your daughter to school? Yes, remote learning does not work for her. So now we're stuck in a situation because I put her into a program that is good for the community and she doesn't have access to education. And that doesn't even go into show her 504 IDEA with FAPE, the free and appropriate public education that she's entitled to. So that was just my concern. It states that we will review and revise our policy that our superintendent has approved. So I'm asking for a little guidance on that and put a little more pressure on, hey, this should be, every classroom should characterize these qualities. My child has a list of 8 days with 4 bullet points of activities to do. Meanwhile, we couldn't even do the activities because she didn't have one of her books at home. It was not included with her manila folder that was sent with 8 worksheet pages. Is that really 5 hours of education? Is that, if we go as every classroom is unique, we are leaving kids to fall through the cracks, period. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the board? All right. Thank you again. Next, we'll go to Annie and the bills.
Okay, included in your materials is an explanation of bills as well as a list of all of the invoices, accounts payable that we have, we're requesting for approval this month. The total that we're requesting for approval is $663,685.35, of which total for accounts payable for today is $447,550. Just to highlight a couple items, we're looking for approval of $73,485 to be paid to Rabine Mechanical. This is for the 3rd payment application that they've submitted for the Ringwood HVAC project. It's not complete as of yet, but they're anticipating that the final payment will be submitted this next month after they finalize the commissioning of the building automation system. They're expecting to have it wrapped up just before or just after Thanksgiving. So you should see that final payment this next month. Also, just wanted to highlight again that we're keeping an eye on our special ed transportation expenses for outsourced transportation. That's one of those items that is a little higher than we were hoping for this year. So we will kind of keep you up to date on that as the year progresses. And then also just wanted to note one invoice for Woodstock School District totaling $53,367. That is for a total of 8 students at 33 days for special ed tuition. So it's a little bit of a higher invoice, but it is also for a longer length of time than just a month. It's for about a month and a half. So, and then the last item I wanted to highlight is our copy paper order that we were able to get in and get the paper in. Thank goodness. And that should take us through at least spring break, if not further. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Questions for Annie? Okay, would you like to pay the bills?
I think we should pay the bills. I think we should pay the bills as presented.
I'll second.
Bob Close,
Yes.
Megan Michael,
Yes.
Kathy Knight. Yes. Jim Barrett,
Yes.
Jerry Parker,
Yes.
Tom Epley.
Yes. We now have reports from advisory committees. First,
Saturday, it is still a go. They have enough people signed up. Winterfest, formerly known as Breakfast with Santa, is scheduled for December 4th this year. And they are looking at, they're brainstorming future fundraisers and growing PTO membership. The next meeting will be held on December 7th, location to be determined. Any questions?
Thank you. Dr. Johnson has a report on the JEPF.
Yeah, JPF met on November the 2nd. The meeting and the conversation focused around the winter tasting event, which we're going to go ahead and go with at the community club on January 29th. We're getting some things finalized at this point in time, but more information will be forthcoming. So be on the lookout for that. And then we also had some discussion on membership and looking to members over there. So, it's gonna be exciting to be able to bring that back.
What was the date of that?
January 29th.
You have something about tech you want to tell us?
We had a tech campus meeting on November the 11th. Several topics that we talked about. One of the topics will likely come back here. We have to redo the joint agreement with all of the school districts over there. And so that process is going to take place over the next couple of months. And then it will eventually come back here where we have to approve the joint agreement to continue the relationship with the tech campus. It's just updating some language with them. So probably won't see it until February or March, but I'm just throwing that on your radar so you'll see that. We had an update on information looking to expand some internship opportunities at the tech campus. Right now they have some external internship opportunities with kind of a select group with CNAs and some other certification areas. But they're looking in the next year, over the next several years to be able to expand the internship opportunities for the kids to do more external internships, which will be more marketable for the kids when they walk out for certification. And then we also had our final review of the 22-23 school year calendar. So, lots to talk about.
Any questions for Dan on JEPF or either Kevin or Dan? Roughly how many students are going to tech this year?
So 35, I believe.
And then was the Lowe's, that's opening next school year?
That's opening in the fall.
Okay.
Part of it, not all.
No. We move on to informational items. We have a proposed 22-23 school calendar.
Yeah, in your informational items, just an informational item tonight for you to review is the recommended calendar for 22-23. So ironic that I just talked about it for Tech Campus because we did match the winter holiday with Tech Campus, which is beneficial for our kids. So trying to keep that if we can. First day of school for next year is looking at August 23rd, and the last day would be June the 2nd. I do want you to note that November the 8th for next year is a school holiday. That's the election, so it's not, that was a piece of legislation that got passed, so it's also affecting this. And also, as long as we talk about the calendar and the school days, we're going to be doing traditional school days this year, so a lot of snow, this is a traditional. We'll get information out for our families on that.
For this school year?
For this school year, yeah. So,
Why'd we opt for that instead of remote?
because, a couple of reasons, several reasons actually. One, we have to have an e-learning plan that would have to be formally public hearing and approved and adopted. And then we also have been really focusing the attention on the classroom, not necessarily training everybody to do more than e-learning. So you'll see it's divided. There's some school districts that have an e-learning plan that will do that. There's some districts that don't. So there's a lot that are going to go back to the traditional schools that we're doing. So that's for this year, but that's something that we could look at adjusting for next year. But for the school year, it's probably.
Thank you. The financial year 21 annual financial report.
I have 2 things to cover tonight, so bear with me. So included in the materials, I'm sure you guys have seen the audit report, the AFR, as well as the financial profile summary and history. and then kind of a summary of our accruals over the past few years. As we kind of talked about in September at the board meeting, we're pleased to report that we had no adjusting entries. There were no comments in the management letter, and no corrections to our internal controls. On an accrual basis, we increased our operating fund balance by about $2.8 million. This is largely due to decreased operational expenses during last year, and obviously also increased funding from the federal government. So with all of that, we, as you guys know, were able to eliminate TWs a little faster than we had originally anticipated, and but we do also anticipate that this $2.8 million is not going to be something that happens every year. Fortunately, however, with the increase in fund balance, if you were to take a look at the financial profile score, our score has come up to 3.7, which actually puts us under financial recognition, which is the highest level of financial profile score that they have out there, is the highest designation. So that's really awesome, really speaks to the financial health of the district. Other than that, I don't have a lot to cover. Obviously now you can see that our ending fund balance across the operating funds is at about $8.5 million, which is about 31% of our fund balance to revenue ratio. So really we pretty much have gotten everywhere we wanted to get. So now it's really just kind of analyzing what we do moving forward and making sure that we're spending things in the right areas. So as we progress, we'll be sure to bring you guys some adjusted long-term plans probably in January. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No, you answered my one question about.
What's up?
You answered my one question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note there is, so obviously we've hit financial recognition, and if you guys look at the financial profile summary that I put together, there's a chance we might dip that down next year. And I just want to throw that out there. You guys remember that happened 2 years back, and that's due to us bringing on the new bus lease. Really depends on what the expenditures versus the revenues are within that year when we bring that lease on, because the lease has to be accounted for all in year one. So if we have a $300,000 lease, even though we might be paying it over 3 years, for example, we take it all on in year one. So really, it's actually good.
What is the reasoning?
It's auditing, obviously, and like anything, it's an accrual. So, ultimately, we're never right where we're at when it comes to June 30th. It's really, hey, we owe this for this, or we are expending this, or whatever it is. So it just has to do with what debts we have outstanding. So it's no different, I guess, than what they consider for our long-term debt as well. So it's just another factor that they throw on our books at that time. So, do I agree with it? I mean, not exactly, but.
I just think it stinks, like, we've been working so hard to dig out of a hole, and now we're in the crown financially, but.
We're
pull
close,
that rug out
so-
from the
so-
other.
If they're gonna show the accrual of future years, then they should be able to show the accrual of future years, revenue coming
I mean, but I guess.
in. Right?
I'll work on that.
I guess, I mean, but we have committed. I guess the fact is that we've committed fully to having to pay for those 3 years, and we can't get out of it where state funding or other funding may not be as secure, so they don't say that we have that coming in and it's not due. The only other thing that really you guys should take a look at too, though, is we do have a couple areas we can still improve upon. One of them is the long-term debt. I think that we're at a 2 on the long-term debt, which is number 5 on the financial profile score. So if we move that one up as well as the days cash on hand, we're close to going to the next level in days cash on hand. So if we move both of those just 1 mark, then we'll be able to carry that forward. So even if we bring on the lease again, it won't impact us as greatly once we move those 2 areas. So we're getting closer.
But that's like, I don't know, I think it's like 6 or 7 years away in our current payment. And we're not gonna accelerate the payment,
Well, let's see.
No.
So the days cash on hand should move within the next couple of years here. It just really depends on what our expenditures are. This year is kind of a goofy year because our expenditures are high because there's so much federal revenue coming in. But if you were to look at the percentage of long-term debt, let's see.
We're at 39% now, we're knocking off like roughly 2 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's moving faster than you. Yeah. We're getting there,
Getting there.
So we're at 39, we have to just over 50, so we could move that one pretty quickly, actually. So, the long-term debt also has to do with our EAD, so as our EAD increases, we're able to take on more debt. So it's 2-part factor right now. It's what we're paying off, also what our EAD is.
Well, you know what, it's better than.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't don't want to damper the mood with that, but at the same time, I still think it's important to be aware of it.
It's only my ninth year here. When I got here, we thought it would take 25 years to be on PAWs.
Right,
And here we are. So,
Right.
good work.
yeah.
You can celebrate that one. Like,
Yeah.
you weren't there that day.
First
First at the house.
I had two notes from when I went through this.
Okay.
That you touched on, but I want to make sure that we touch on it again. If you guys were to go age 11, which don't go, I'll just,
In the audit,
in the audit.
but also,
I'll just bring up the point that I
Let me
want to
see.
bring up.
Thank you.
No, I just lost my page, darn it. Hold on 1 second, it's worth reading. Hold on. Darn it. I hate having this touch screen, guys,
I'll trade you.
or not having a touch screen,
Page
sorry.
11 of the PDF was in the document.
Hold on, it's coming, it's loading right now.
I didn't know that.
It's right here. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking all your time. But I just wanted to go over one more time. If you read the statement, it says,
Which paragraph?
the first paragraph, after making significant staffing and budgetary changes beginning in fiscal year 2014 to offset the decline in revenue, the district has been able to achieve balanced budget since fiscal year 2017. Has been able to close each year with a surplus, has been able to increase fund balance across the operating funds. By doing so, the district has been able to reduce the amount of borrowed tax anticipation warrants, has reduced the length of time needed to borrow, and anticipates that warrants will no longer be issued beginning in February 2022. If that doesn't say, congratulations on your success, Andy, Dan, and everybody here that's worked so hard for this, I don't know what else does. So I wanted to put that up. And then the second thing was that we met financial recognition at 3.7. So thank you for everybody that has been working so hard at getting us to where we are, and let's keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've all been
Good work.
part of it. Yep. Any other questions about the audit or AFR or any of those things?
All right, we have the property tax relief grant.
Okay, so you may recall this from a couple of years ago. The Illinois State Board of Education began providing up to $50 million a year in property tax relief through this grant program. You have to apply. Started in FY19, was again in FY20. They skipped FY21 just because they weren't funding additional money into the evidence-based funding model. That has to be a certain threshold to allow for this grant. So the way that the grant works is if, let me back it up. Districts with high tax rates have an opportunity to lower the tax burden for their community by applying for this grant. If you're awarded this grant, you still levy for the same amount that you were going to. However, then you abate taxes. For us, for this year, would be up to $1.3 million. The grant changed from FY19 to today. It's now you have to apply and you have to abate taxes for 2 years. But you get the money for 2 years as well. There's a little more to it, and if we were to get awarded, we definitely go through that process of reviewing it before accepting it, and we have the right to do that. But rather than get into the weeds with it, it's important for you guys to know that we probably will not be awarded this at this time again. We felt, a lot lower than probably the $50 million would allot. But again, if we don't apply for it, we're never going to get it. So as it progresses, this money becomes part of your new base funding minimum, which means that the tax burden may naturally go away for some of these higher tax burden districts, and such that eventually we may fall into qualifying for it. I know that's a little wordy and all over the place, but regardless, we have to keep trying, otherwise we're not going to get it. So we're going to recommend, we're going to bring this to this December board meeting and recommend that you guys approve us going and applying for this again.
And our levy.
Okay, we've talked about this a couple times now, and tonight we're requesting that the board adopt the tentative property tax levy. The final levy will be recommended for approval at the December 14th board meeting. For our previous discussions, we provided a tax levy with a 3.5% increase over the prior year cap fund. We anticipate that the final levy will be an increase of about 1.86%. Based on consumer price index and new growth that was provided from the assessor's office. So we will be looking for approval for that tonight during the action item.
And then we have a Freedom of Information Act request.
And again, there's a memo in your board packet about this. We're not going to go through them in detail. If you guys have any questions, you'll see the packet for the details.
Any questions on that? Okay, we go to an action item, tentative levy.
Motion we approve the levy increase by.
Second. Del Close.
Yes.
Megan Michael.
Yes.
Jim Barrett.
Yes.
Jerry Harker.
Yes.
Ken Ethling.
Yes. All right, other business, there's a Board of Ed meeting right here on December 14th. And that's it. We need a motion to go into closed session regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees.
Move and take one close.
Megan Michael.
Yes.
Kathy Knight. Yes. Jim Barrett.
Yes.
Jerry Harker.
Yes.
Del Close.
Yes.
Ken Ethling.
Yes. All right, thank you all for coming out. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.